Greetings and salutations, mappers, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time, we really pushed for the conspiracy of, Lord Strongheart being the mastermind behind the assassination attempts. And now we are reopening the case of, Genshin Asogi, the professor. And we were told that Mr. Asogi's ring, the crucial piece of evidence that proved that he was the professor, was found inside of Klint's stomach. But the ring is so sharp that even Renosuke cut himself just touching it. But somehow, there were no other signs of eternal injury when he swallowed the ring. So let's present it.
Objection!
The court has heard that the ring was extracted from the victim's stomach. But you didn't actually see it being removed, did you, Professor Mikotoba?
That's right. As I said in my testimony before, at that moment, I was fetching a replacement scalpel that Dr. Wilson had requested.
In other words, you can neither confirm nor deny whether this ring, in fact, really came from the victim's stomach or not. What are you suggesting, counsel? That the ring was never in the victim's stomach to begin with. It's entirely feasible that Dr. Wilson fabricated that detail about the autopsy. What are you saying? That Dr. Wilson was in possession of the ring in advance, after it was somehow stolen from Mr. Asogi. And he produced it during the procedure, pretending to have found it there and then in the victim's stomach.
Objection!
Supposition at best. What possible evidence do you have to support such a rash claim? This evidence, right here. That's the autopsy report. It's explicit in that report, counsel. Other than the ring, nothing unusual was noted internally. So I'm not sure how you intend to prove your point. You've already done it for me, my lord. The lack of internal injury says it all. What? To swallow a ring of this size will require considerable effort and determination. And in addition to its size, there are sharp claws around the gemstone to contend with. My brother was a determined man, and on the brink of death, even more so, I'm sure. He would have stopped at nothing to ensure that evil killer was brought to justice. But if he really had swallowed that enormous ring, it's inconceivable that no traces of its passage down his throat will have remained as internal trauma. No.
And there you've arrived at the sticking point. That's precisely why I had my doubts about the findings myself 10 years ago.
Then why didn't you say something at the time?
I did. I still remember the conversation I had with Dr. Wilson in the laboratory that day.
I think I gave like 3 people the same voice. What? What? Look at this! Now, this is a very curious thing to find in a man's stomach, wouldn't you say?
But isn't that rather peculiar, Dr. Wilson?
What's that? What's that now, Mikotoba?
Well, if he swallowed a ring of that size, with those sharp metal claws that it has, surely you'd expect to see damage to the throat and esophagus, Torn mucous membranes at the very least.
Dr. Mikotoba, may I remind you that I have vastly more experience than you.
I'm terribly sorry.
I can think of plenty of ways to explain why no injuries would be seen. No, let's say this. The victim would appear to have ingested the item as evidence to identify his assailant. Go ahead, write it down. So I was right. Dr. Wilson deliberately fabricated the results of the autopsy to implicate my father. I'm disappointed, Counsel. That argument is nothing more than speculation. What? Dr. Wilson was Britain's leading authority on forensic science and on autopsy report. Is that autopsy report? I not dyslexia that, right? Autopsy work. Wow. There is no scientific basis on which to doubt the man's expert opinion.
Pardon the interruption, my lord, but damage to the mucous membranes of the throat is easily identified, even in living subjects. Using a device called an endoscope, recently demonstrated in practical use in France. I want one. The government can pay.
I don't think so. And Dr. Gory, rest assured that your removal of evidence from the stores without permission will not go unpunished.
We open up the dead to find the truth.
I beg your pardon?
But Mama, she chose to stitch her corpses up with all her secrets inside. That's wrong.
Dr. Gory? It looks as though... It's looking as though she chose to walk a different path from her mama. Yes, the ring. What about the ring? I've just remembered something. An earlier incident. What incident? The one I recounted to you before, about a memory I have of Genshin Asogi's saving my life. What? My father saved your life? It was 10 years ago, on a foggy night. Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. All of a sudden... Don't make a peep! You're coming with us! All of our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. Oh, I gotta mute my desktop IO. Whoopsie. Forgot about that. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He shielded me. It was on the ring finger of his left hand that he used to wear that ring.
Are you saying?
I've always believed those thugs were after me. But now, I'm starting to question if perhaps I wasn't the intended target after all. Wait, but... Genshin was arrested 2 days after that attack. And in that short interval, the decisive evidence needed to indict him was miraculously found.
You mean
The ring was stolen from him? You think that's what those thugs were after that night?
Objection!
You pathetic coward. You expect me to believe that you weren't involved? What do you mean by that? It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who took it. You stole my father's ring. You set the whole thing up so you could paint him as a mass murderer.
Objection!
And have him arrested. Kazuma. Open your eyes. Ryunosuke? You must know deep down. The truth can be completely obscured, even when your judgment is only slightly clouded. But at the moment, you seem to be floundering through a dense fog. Is that why you were so insistent I should be present in this trial? To see you like this? Well, this is an amusing spectacle. What a grandiose expression on your face, as if you were Lady Justice herself. It seems you thoroughly convinced yourself of this alleged fabrication of the autopsy results. So much so that you are apparently blind to the blatant contradiction that would be born out of it. What? Though it's extremely hard to believe, let us imagine that there was some misconduct during the autopsy. If that were the case, why would Asogi not have disputed the findings in his trial? Oh. In the closed court hearing 10 years ago, the defendant never once denied the claims against him. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zeeks? Yes, that is indeed correct. Upon hearing the verdict of guilty, he merely closed his eyes, quietly accepting the judgment. The actions of a man who has accepted responsibility for his deeds and is resigned to his fate. But then...
Oh my, that is very strange. If Mr. Asogi did nothing to oppose the charges against him, then that would surely mean there was no fabricated evidence.
Or even... The opposite is, he was also in on it. An obvious conclusion I wish you should arrive at many minutes ago. Prosecutor Asogi, your twisted loyalty and clouded judgments are hampering your ability for logical thought. Genshin Asogi's silence is at... Genshin Asogi's silence at his hearing can only mean one thing. There was no fabrication of evidence during the autopsy of his final victim 10 years ago. Ah! I thought autopsy was all above board. There'd be nothing to stop Lord Strongheart bringing this trial to an immediate conclusion.
Objection!
Thank you, Ryunosuke. If it wasn't for your frank words just now, this trial may very well have ended prematurely. Kazuma? What's this latest absurdity, Counsel? My lord, your reasoning is perfectly sound. But for one giant hole, I beg your pardon. You claim my father's silence was due to the fact that there was no fabricated evidence. But there's another possible explanation. You've overlooked the possibility that he had a reason for maintaining that silence.
Objection!
Silence that would lead him. Silence that would lead to him being convicted and sent to his death. If the autopsy results were an invention, there's no conceivable reason why the man wouldn't have protested.
Objection!
Oh, the results were an invention, alright. There's no question about it. Or are you forgetting that 2 people with a connection to that autopsy have been assassinated? If I force the grievances I feel from my mind, I start to see you in a very different light. I think perhaps it's you who's been living in delusion these 10 years. Me.
Kazuma-sama has created one last chance for us here, Mr. Naruto. If we can only show there's a reason for his father's silence in his trial. A reason why the man would have said nothing even though he was innocent. They have been part of some negotiation, perhaps.
Enough rhetoric. The court must be shown evidence. What proof do you have that could possibly explain Asogi's silence in court? I want to present the Asogi papers.
Take that!
Is that right? This is the defense's answer to that question. Nope, it was not. As I stated before, my patience of rhetoric is growing thin. You could at least accompany that penalty with an explanation of why that answer was wrong.
If Kazuma-sama's father knew that the evidence being used to convict him was fabricated, why would he have said nothing in his trial? For me, I have to protest my innocence until I was blue in the face. So if we're right about the autopsy results, there must have been a strong reason for his silence.
Well then, perhaps he was saying nothing in exchange for some sort of clemency.
That could be it.
My lord, the defense would like to... Enough rhetoric. The court must be shown evidence. What proof do you have that could possibly explain Asogi's silence? It's not the autopsy again, is it? Now these are all pointless. These should be pointless now. That case is closed. Is it the dismissal notice? Because he was still alive after the execution. So he was supposed to leave, but he was shot afterwards because of A, the gravedigger, B, a second party who just randomly shot him. Which I'm starting to believe that was Strongheart.
Take that!
Oh, cool. I was right. Like, it's true that Genshin Asogi's silence during his trial resulted in his conviction. But that didn't actually lead to his execution. On the contrary, it led to his escape. An escape that was only possible because he had been sentenced to death. Although I find it hard to believe my father would have negotiated in that way, the defense is correct. A fake execution, a falsification of a death certificate, and a jailbreak inside a coffin. Clearly, such an elaborate plan couldn't have been carried out by my father alone. He must have had help. He must have had the help of a collaborator from the judiciary. I have here the dismissal notice of the chief warder who was working in the prison at the time. The notes read, there are indications that the jailbreak was in planning prior to the inmate's incarceration. In other words, there were suggestions of some sort of negotiation between Mr. Asogi and the British government. In exchange for his silence in court, he was given an assurance that he would be broken out of prison. Yes, with that sort of clandestine agreement in place, I can imagine he would have kept very quiet. I would go further than that, in fact. I would say that the elaborate jailbreak of Mr. Asogi can be explained in no other way. Order! Order! First fabricated evidence, and now a jailbreak conspiracy. Of course, because it's all intimately linked. The prosecution wishes to summon new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses! People who can testify about the jailbreak that took place 10 years ago. Ah!
Governor Caden and the poor chief warder of the prison.
I won't allow this trial to run into a farce. To summon the governor of the prison after all these years.
Oh, it wouldn't be any trouble, my lord.
What?
Father? My dear friend may appear a little brittle-pated at times, but I can assure you he is extremely thorough. He wired both Barclay and the local prison earlier, asking Governor Caden and Mr. Vigil to attend the Old Bailey as a matter of extreme urgency.
Mr. Sholmes did that? Oh, are you telling me that
Both men are, unless I'm much mistaken, waiting just outside the courtroom at this very moment.
My lord, you must permit this trial to proceed as you declared at the outset. You promised that we would stop at nothing to uncover the truth, the whole truth, behind these disturbing findings. So I'm trying to kill an orange. Or any kind. Tangerine? Tangerine. Very well. Bring in the witnesses. Make no mistake. I too would like nothing more than to lay this business to rest once and for all. Would the new witnesses state their names and occupation for the court, please?
Aye, Barry Caden, Governor of Barclay Prison. Everyone calls me Gossip. I sell jaunty.
Your other persona, if you don't mind.
Oh, I do beg your pardon. Of course.
What did you say?
Everyone calls me Gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passerbys, you... My name is Daily Vigil. I used to be the chief warder at Barclay Prison.
The reason you've been summoned here to court today is to testify about the jailbreak of the so-called professor 10 years ago.
Lie! The professor! We've already been through all this before, a decade ago.
Oh, you're sweating though.
And the conclusion was that there wasn't anything untoward happened.
A convict escaped from your prison, Governor. Hardly what you call nothing untoward.
Ah, well.
This orange is a lot louder than I thought it was. The convict's death certificate was somehow falsified after he was allegedly executed. And he escaped the prison inside his own coffin. A plan of that complexity could never have been carried out without the help of somebody of influence inside the prison. Governor Keaton, don't imagine that the passage of time will afford you any protection. Oh, the damn ring power. If it turns out that you were involved in the plot to break Mr. Asogi out of your prison, then of course, the consequences will be very serious. In all likelihood, a capital punishment.
Hold on there, laddie. All I did was...
Witness! Governor Caden.
Aye, sir.
You have a critical role to play in the public safety of our country. A great responsibility to shoulder. The significance of your testimony in court cannot be understated. Therefore, think carefully before you speak. And Prosecutor Asogi, if you threaten to witness again, you will be held in contempt of court. My apologies, my lord. There's no disputing the fact that an intricate jailbreak plot was enacted 10 years ago. Clearly, we were both involved in some way. So you would testify before the court now and explain exactly what took place. Very well. Let the witnesses give their formal testimony. What's getting picked up the mic? Tell the court everything you know of the plot to break Asogi out of Barclay Prison 10 years ago.
Witness testimony. The jailbreak plot. It was the day that Japanese jock was found guilty. The directive came from the prosecutor's office. I assigned the convict to the chief warder vigil here and put the plan into action behind the scenes.
I was responsible for Asogi's attorney right up until the night of his execution. I knew nothing of any plot.
I didn't ken if there was some negotiation between the convict and the prosecutor's office. All I did was carry out my duty for Her Majesty's Great British Empire.
A director from the prosecutor's office? Are you saying that Are you saying that was the jailbreak plot?
Aye. That's right.
Who sent it? Who authorized that plan?
I didn't ken that.
You're saying you don't know?
Listen. There wasn't a thing about that professor case that wasn't unusual in some way. I didn't ask any questions. I just did what I was told to do. More than that, I couldn't tell ya.
I see. Well, if the jailbreak plan originated from the prosecutor's office, then one thing is very clear. As suspected, there were clandestine dealings going on between Mr. Sogi and the office. The jailbreak was promised in exchange for Mr. Sogi's admitting to the crimes he didn't commit. That, Counsel, is nothing more than speculation on your part. So, let me ask the defense. Oh, yes, my lord? I fail to see how these witnesses have any more permanent information here. Do you intend to assert your right to cross-examination? Absolutely. I have no intention of squandering a single opportunity, my lord. It seems all you Japanese are fiercely tenacious. Very well. Proceed, counsel.
The jailbreak plot. It was the day that Japanese jock was found guilty. A directive came from the prosecutor's office.
Hold it!
And you say you didn't know who actually issued the directive. You just kind of believed it.
That's right. All I can be sure of is that it was official.
But if it was from the prosecutor's office, that narrows down who could have issued it straight away. And it wasn't me.
I cannot even say with certainty that it did originate from the prosecutor's office.
What?
There's no telling where it started. There's a fair chance it came from higher up the ladder. Basically, I cannot give you any indication of who was behind it.
You can't be serious.
All we can say for sure is that the order must have come from somebody in authority, I suppose. The likes of us on the ground, as it were, didn't bother with idle speculation. We just get the job done. I assigned the convict to Chief Ward Vigil here, and put the plan to action behind the scenes.
Hold it!
So, Mr. Vigil, you didn't know anything about it at all.
That's right. My only role in the scheme was as a scapegoat. That's right, isn't it, Governor? That poor beggar had to take the rap for it.
And he chose the chief order. Alright then. Who else did know about the plan?
I've known the first idea that part of the whole business was basically just dealing with the aftermath. I would not be surprised if there were other folks in the prison service who'd been given similar orders.
So you don't know who else was involved?
That's right. All I can tell you is that the night it actually happened, the person at the reins was Dr. Stevens.
Dr. Courtney Stevens? Or Dr. Seiss, as she's known now?
Why did I have to get caught up in such a terrible business? I was responsible for Sogi right up until the night of his execution, but I knew nothing of any plot.
Hold it!
Did you not notice anything unusual happening in the lead up to that night?
Oh, everything was unusual. Exception after exception. After all, it was the professor, the man who had the man had terrorized the country as never before with its crimes. In order to hide his identity, he was forced to wear an iron mask over his head.
Hideous treatment.
The fellow was surprisingly docile for someone who'd taken the lives of 5 of the country's nobles.
Being the chief warder, I was the only person permitted to approach the cell. I can still hardly believe that I was duped by my own country.
I believe you jumped from the window of the governor's office when the jailbreak was blamed on you, did you?
Lost, Vigil. I cannot apologize enough.
No, Governor. I don't believe you can. It won't change what happened.
And what else can you tell us about the situation, Governor Caden?
I didn't ken if there was some negotiation between the convict and the prosecutor's office.
Hold it!
I've already acknowledged that orders came from the prosecutor's office to arrange for the man's escape. There must have been some sort of negotiation. It's the only explanation.
Aye, well, be that as it may, I didn't ken nothing about that. The witness stand is no place for telling what you don't know for sure. I ken that much, I do.
Then I presume you also know this. Not telling what you do know is a criminal offense. So you were just following orders, is that it? I'm afraid that won't absolve you of guilt here. A man was still killed illegally, even if he was a condemned criminal. You may very well be found complicit in murder, Governor. So that's what's to be, is it? Even with the threat of conviction, you won't break your silence.
All I did was carry out my duty for Her Majesty's great British Empire.
Hold it!
Did you carry out the plan in its entirety?
I did everything I could at the time.
As you know, Geshe Sogi was shot dead in Lowgate Cemetery after his escape. Tell me, was that part of the plan too?
My instructions were to do with getting the jock out of the jail and nothing more. I cannot tell you anything about what happened after that. Personally, I believe his
What
death
does this all mean?
was the last part of the plan.
Excuse me!
Mr. Vigil, is something wrong?
Yes, sir. What can I do for you, sir?
He's saluting now? What is it? Some sort of Barclay convention? What Governor Caden was just saying seemed to upset you. Did it bring something to mind, perhaps?
For the last 10 years, I've completely blotted out the memories of that time from my mind. I was betrayed by my superiors in the name of my country.
Just as my father was betrayed, it seemed.
But you see, thinking back now, I really can't imagine that the shooting of Mr. Sogi in the cemetery was ever part of the plan.
What makes you think that?
Well, it just doesn't make sense, does it? To make the man admit to crimes he didn't commit with the promise of jailbreak, only to kill him in the end. That's treachery of the worst kind. The point is, if the intention was always to betray him, why would there be any need for all the chicaneries of an escape. Ah. Yes, that's quite true.
If whoever negotiated with Asogi never intended to keep his or her end of the bargain, it would have been far simpler just to let the man be executed in prison, as dictated by his sentence. It all happened in that vast chamber of secrets, Bez Barclay, behind the high prison walls. I suppose nobody knows what really went on in the execution room now. Yes, it's an unsettling mystery, certainly.
Truth be told, there's a wee matter that's never quite made sense to me. If you believe there was some kind of negotiation behind the jailbreak, between Asogi and a body at the top, it doesn't quite add up, does it?
Governor Caden, I must insist that you explain these doubts you have by amending your formal testimony.
Gad! Aye. Go on then. It seems to me that the Japanese fella didn't have nothing to bargain with.
Hold it!
Admitting to the crimes. That was what he had to bargain with, surely.
I cannot see that myself. After all the prosecution, the prosecution have conclusive evidence against the Carly, eh?
This you mean, discovered during the final victim's autopsy. There's every possibility this conclusive evidence was fabricated by Scotland Yard and the prosecutor's office.
Objection!
Possibilities are all very well, but nothing has been proven. You can holler about misconduct in the trial 10 years ago all you like. But if you can't establish that it happened with hard evidence, no one's going to listen.
Aye, that's right. So what I'm saying is, the convict had nothing he could use for any kind of bargain at all.
The witness makes an astute point. Logically, it would seem no negotiation could have taken place. And yet the plan to break the man out of prison was definitely put into practice. So he must have been armed with something that gave him an angle to negotiate. So Asogi-san agreed to confess to the crimes because he was assured he'd be broken out of prison later.
I really don't think that Kazuma-sama's father would have engaged in such negotiations.
But perhaps something compelled him to agree.
What a terrible thing, using the law to legitimize such underhand dealings with a desperate man. Why did you double-cross him in the end? Quite the opposite of justice.
I can't help feeling there's something about this apparent negotiation that doesn't quite add up.
Something doesn't quite add up, Miss Naruto.
No, it doesn't. I can't quite put my finger on what yet.
Well, in that case, we must keep digging until we identify the problem.
Okay, I think we present the Asogi figures the last one then. Because it mentioned weapon, or being armed, and he, in the evidence, mentioned it being a weapon. His last weapon.
Objection!
Confessing under oath to murders he didn't commit on a verbal assurance of later being broken out of prison. Genja Asogi was taking an incredibly risky gamble. Very true. There was nothing to stop the British breaking their word and executing him behind closed doors anyway. under normal circumstances, no man would stake his life on a gentleman's agreement like that. Which means that Mr. Asogi must have had trump card. Something that guaranteed he wouldn't be betrayed. Some kind of weapon.
Havers! That fella could not possibly have anything like that.
But you know that he did, Governor. The Asogi Papers, the name given to the last will and testament of Genshin Asogi.
Ah!
It turns out that Mr. Asogi was hiding his will in his cell at Barclay. Chief Warrior Vigil caught him with it one day.
You squealed, did ya, ya wee rat? Did I no tell you to keep that secret?
You can't touch me now.
Ah!
When Mr. Vigil caught sight of that will through the bars of the convict cell, Mr. Asogi pleaded with the warder.
Alright then. But what's on that paper?
The lost will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now.
A weapon.
And after the convict had been killed following the elaborate pretense of the jailbreak, that document mysteriously disappeared, didn't it?
Well, yes. All the prison warders searched through the belongings in his cell, but that will was just nowhere to be found.
As I understand it, an exhaustive search was made for the document, which became known as the Asogi Papers. Governor Caden, I believe you ordered your prison staff to find it at all costs, didn't you?
Eh?
Would I be right in saying that you knew? You knew that the so-called Asogi Papers had the potential to make great waves somehow?
Jings! What the blazes are you blathering about? The will found, right and proper, in the fellow's cell where I said it would be.
Ah, but how can that be? Where in his cell? We all searched the place from top to bottom.
Well, you didn't do a proper job, eh, you peely wily galoot.
You can't criticize me now.
I showed it to you before, did I know? Yon lawyer.
Yes, you did. I have the document here. It's written in Japanese and it reads, "The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi." Which means that everything is as it should be. Not quite, my lord. You see, there's an undeniable inconsistency here. What? What inconsistency? Mr. Asogi described this document as the only weapon he had left. And yet, this will contains nothing of significance at all. Nothing that would have given the convict any leverage. Are you suggesting, my learned friend, that the last will and testament stored at Barclay Prison all these years is actually a fake? As has clearly been demonstrated already, what went on at Barclay Prison was far from above board. That last vilification by the defense was an affront to the entire British legal system. This absurd notion of a weapon is something for which we have only the former Chief Warder's word. The man could easily be lying, or at the very least, sorely mistaken.
What? No, I definitely couldn't say that. I swear.
Clearly, we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to know exactly what happened with these so-called Asogi Papers. A waste of time. If the will was fake, where is the real document?
Objection!
This individual was stabbed in the back by the judiciary 10 years ago. He lost everything. Very nearly his own life. And now you're going to do it again. You're ready to brand him a liar and turn your back on him without even letting him defend himself.
It's clear that Barkley was inside them.
It's clear that the jailbreak was a mastermind by someone in the prosecutor's office.
It's clear that some illicit negotiations took place. Is your lordship going to gloss over the true facts?
What did you say?
We should more than the chief warder.
That's what I am.
The trial must go on. Amen.
Boys must be heard. It would seem that a vocal few here are utterly blind to the truth. Very well then. Let the witness testify again. Tell the court precisely what you think you saw of the convict's lost will and testament.
Yes, sir, my lord.
The Asogi papers.
As a warder responsible for condemned convicts, I attended to Mr. Sogi and kept watch over his cell. The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will in his cell. We turned the cell inside out looking for it after the execution, but to no avail.
I found out about the Sogi papers when the directive came telling me to impound them. The document was in the folds of the fellow's robe that was left in his cells. A kimono, I think it's called.
In his kimono? That's a lie. We searched every inch of that man's cell. We looked through all his clothes. It can't be true.
Were you no satisfied with calling me a liar the once, eh? Yeah, we wag finger.
Nothing you can do about it now. You don't have any hold over me anymore. Other than the hold you like to take on my cravat, of course. Is that what you're going to do, is it? Are you going to give me a good shake again? Or are you too scared?
Yeah!
Little and large. What a double action. We complied with Asogi's will as far as was possible. All his personal effects were delivered to his family at home in Japan. As a courtesy to the homeland of the most notorious killer our country has ever seen. And we were much obliged. I can confirm that all my father's belongings arrived safely.
Hey, and you cannot deny the handwriting that is that of your old man, eh?
Yes, there's no mistaking it for my father's brushwork. Really? And this last will and testament was the man's last weapon, was it? I think we can safely assume that the convict was merely prowling, knowing that his end was nigh. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord.
The Asogi keepers.
As the warder responsible for condemned convicts, I attended to Mr. Sogi and kept watch over his cell.
Hold it!
So, would that mean that you conversed with Mr. Sogi? Yes, certainly. Though there was a slow time before his execution was due. He was remarkably calm, considering his days were very much numbered. In all honesty, he really didn't strike one as a man capable of mass murder.
Yet he confessed in full to the crimes.
I know. That's why I felt compelled to ask him one day. I can still recall his reply. I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes. But you're so tranquil and intelligent. It put me in mind of an Eastern holy man.
And what about the will you saw him with? What can you tell us about that?
It was the beginning of all the drama. I remember it very well, yes. The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will in his cell.
Hold it!
And he pleaded with you not to report him, did he?
Yes, that's right.
And like the bam pop you are. Yeah, you didn't tell me. A plain breach of trust that was.
I could see that the man had a noble spirit. I found myself wanting to treat him accordingly. But according to what you told us 2 days ago, the convict had been strictly forbidden from having any writing materials whatsoever. Yes, you're quite right.
Ah, so when exactly was the will penned?
That was before the man was remanded in Barclay, obviously.
Yes, at the prosecutor's office, under supervision of the relevant authorities. I personally instructed Asogi to make a will for the benefit of his family in his homeland. In that case, why was it found in his cell?
What do you mean by that?
Well, if it was penned at the prosecutor's office, you would have expected it that it would remain there for safekeeping, surely.
Ah!
It's curious. There doesn't seem to be any obvious explanation for why it was subsequently found in the convict's cell.
Oh, well.
The defense makes an astute point. Well, Governor?
A prison governor cannot be expected to ken the inner workings of the prosecutor's office.
In that case, Lord Strongheart, perhaps you can shed some light on the matter. I am unable to offer an explanation here and now. I would have to consult with the notary responsible for the will at the time. The fact that my father's will was discovered in his cell is clearly inconsistent with what was expected. I want to know why.
Another inexplicable mystery, then. Well, the thing is about that will. We turned the cell inside out looking for it after the execution, with no avail.
Hold it!
It was the governor who ordered the search for the will, as I understand it. Is that right?
Yes. And when I reported back that we couldn't find it, he grabbed me by the cavett and yelled, "It cannot have disappeared completely," in my face.
Aye, well. It's due to the governor to keep everybody working as hard as they should.
I think the governor needs a wee taste of his own medicine, Mr. Naruto.
The point is, it was clearly considered a very important document, wasn't it? But it proved impossible to find.
That's right. Then before I knew it, it was in the morning paper. A blood-curdling article. The executed mass murderer who had risen from the dead. Oh, you mean...
The article based on Mr. Drebber's experience in Logate Cemetery.
Yes, that was it. The day after I read that news, I was summoned to the governor's office. And that's when the awful accusation was made.
That you aided Getchin Sogi to escape from the prison. resulting in your immediate dismissal.
I'm afraid I really don't remember anything after that.
As governor of the prison, I had no choice. I could not have done anything else. I found out about the Oslo papers when the directive came telling me to impound them.
Hold it!
And that directive came from the same source as the one instructing you about the jailbreak.
Aye, from the top levels of the prosecutor's office.
What name was on it?
I didn't ken before, and I didn't ken now. All I can tell you is that my orders were to do everything in my power to find that document. The director said it had to be somewhere inside the fellow's cell.
Document. Was that the wording? Document, not will?
That's what I said.
Am I clutching at straws here? I just wonder if it was really Genshin Sogi's last will and testament that the sender of the directive was after. Continue with your testimony then, witness.
The document was in the folds of the fellow's robe that was left in his cell. A kimono, I think it was called.
Hold it!
In Mr. Sogi's kimono?
The one he brought with him when he was locked up.
Yes. He was permitted to have his personal effects with him during his incarceration, I understand.
That's right. He was granted as much freedom as possible during the few days before his execution.
Indeed, there are a number of items of personal significance, I remember. He was very reluctant to part with them. Some books, that kimono, his sword.
His sword? Kuruma, the famous sword of the Sogi clan. It bears the soul of my family. I don't doubt it, but I wasn't really getting at that. Forget it being the soul of the clan. Could the man have been... Could the man have had a more obvious weapon? Have some respect, Rinosuke. Respectful silence?
The warders carried firearms at all times, and the inmates have shackles around their ankles. They couldn't have hurt anybody with that thing.
Still, he was allowed a sword, but no writing materials?
He wrote that will before he came to stay with us at Barclay scene.
Dr. Mikotobo was asked to bring the necessary Japanese writing implements to the prosecutor's office.
A Suzuri inkstone, black sumi ink, and some hashi rice paper, no doubt.
I was present when he wrote it. I'm sorry to say.
Is that right?
The letters just look like a squirming massive jet black earthworms to me.
Excuse me!
Are you feeling faint, Mr. Vigil? Mr. Vigil!
Sir! It was Scarlet, sir.
What?
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to blurt it out like that.
Less swaying and more explaining would be helpful.
Is this something about the testimony we just heard? Have you recalled something of importance? Something of importance? Possibly, or possibly not? I'm unable to tell which way he's leaning, I'm afraid.
My lord, the defense asks that Mr. Vigil be permitted to supplement his testimony. with this possibly or possibly not important detail. Permission granted. Go ahead, Mr. Vigil.
Yes, it was Scarlet. As I remember it, the document was written in scarlet ink. Or perhaps I was mistaken.
Hold it!
Scarlet, you say?
Well, yes. I mean, I only caught sight of it for a brief moment, of course. But even by the dim light of the cell, I remember thinking it was an unusual color. At the very least, I'm quite sure it wasn't black.
Witness! Is that really what you saw?
Ah, what? Sir!
Is something wrong, Lord Strongheart? I apologize. Continue.
What do you make of that, Miss Naruto? For Lord Strongheart to be so visually shaken in that way.
Ah, didn't it, Heather? You can plainly see the grit right here. It's as black as the Erdal Hell's waistcoat.
Well, yes, you're right.
Mr. Vigil, I'd like to confirm one point with you. Did you actually see the content of the document that Mr. Asogi was holding that night?
Oh, well, no. I mean, there was no time. As soon as he noticed me there, he hid it behind his back.
But it was definitely a will, was it?
Yes, it was. That's what Mr. Asogi told me.
The court need waste no further time on this matter. We have the will in question in our possession. There's nothing more to add. A will written in scarlet ink. Where did Mr. Vigil really see Kazuma's father holding, I wonder?
If you have an inkling, Mr. Naruto, you must present it to the court at once.
That testimony doesn't give much away.
So this will really was penned by Kazuma's father. I wonder what he could possibly have meant when he described it as a weapon.
It's starting to sound very much like Mr. Asogi actually had nothing.
But the plan to break him out of jail went ahead, which means he must have had some bargaining power. He must have been hiding something. It's the only explanation that makes sense.
It's starting to sound like Mr. Asogi actually might have had something.
Which is it, Miss Naruto?
I'm not sure, but I feel as though I'm on the brink of understanding all this. Let's listen to all the information again and see what more we can learn. We can't overlook even the smallest detail.
Absolutely.
Still no secret compartment I can look at, huh? I'm still convinced that Kuruma has a secret compartment in it. Probably in health. I'm a sleepy sheepy. And I will not sleep until like 2 a.m. in the morning, because I am terrible at this. See, now the thing is, it says there's scarlet ink stains visible on the lower ring finger of the right hand, and Klint as well, but no document was found corresponding to ink. Which is super suspicious, and I think I should present this.
Objection!
Scarlet colored writing is what you said you thought you saw, Mr. Vigil. And I believe that's exactly what you did see.
What?
Harris again. You've no evidence to say that.
Have a look at this report. That's my brother's autopsy report. Yes, and there's something in here that's bothering me since I first read it. It states that scarlet-colored ink stains were noted on the fingers of the victim's right hand. Yes, so it does.
Scarlet ink?
Now, I'm not familiar with the habits of the British aristocracy, I freely admit. But I would hazard a guess that they don't all go around with ink stains on their fingertips, do they? Your wit is not appreciated. My brother was a well-bred and fastidious man. Should ink have sullied his fingertips, he would have cleaned them immediately. What's your point, Counsel? My point is this. Wherever Lord Klint Van Zieks was writing in that unusually colored ink, it must have been directly before his death, because he died before he had the opportunity to clean his hand. What? I remember something that troubled me at the time. At the scene, the lid of my brother's inkwell was open. But Klint was punctilious about such things. It seemed unusual. And no document penned in the color of the ink that was in the inkwell was ever found. So the document had disappeared. Are you suggesting that the document my father had in his hand that night in his cell was the same document that Lord Klint Van Zieks was writing moments before his death? Then it was. If Mr. Vigil's testimony is to be believed, it can only mean that, yes. Mr. Vigil?
Sir?
When you spotted Mr. Sogi with the document in his cell, his precise words were as follows, were they not?
Alright then, but what's on that paper?
A lost will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. Oh, we never mentioned whose will that was. We always assumed it was his. A lost will and testament. Ah. If the conversation really did go as Mr. Vigil says, then what we now know completely changes the meaning of what Mr. Sogi said. You really think Mr. Vigil did indeed see the convict with the will, but wasn't that of Genshin Sogi. It was the last will and testament of Lord Klint Van Zieks. No. What?
Objection!
This is madness. My brother's last will and testament. That would mean that he had chosen to die. Oops. That is what it would mean, yes. No, impossible. That is utterly out of the question.
Lord Van Zieks.
Klint was pursuing the professor. He consumed him day and night. Whatever happened, he would never have abandoned his investigation before its conclusion. Never. He wouldn't rest until the job was done, until the killer was caught. The idea that he would willingly accept his own death is obscene.
Objection!
And yet, we can be sure that he was writing his will in moments before his death. and that Genshin Asogi came to be in possession of that document. So what could the will possibly have contained? Clearly something that couldn't be made public under any circumstances whatsoever. Because armed with that document, my father was able to negotiate with the judiciary for his life. It was something so damning that it prompted the powers that be to enact that daring jailbreak plot. Yes, there can be no question that the will contained information of utmost secrecy. Information of the utmost secrecy. Ah! No, it couldn't be. I've heard more than enough. Pursuing this notion of a phantom will, nobody can attest to having seen serves absolutely no purpose.
Objection!
No, my lord. That's unacceptable. What did you say, counsel? The lost will and testament of Genshin Asogi had in his possession was that of Lord Klint Van Zieks. All the testimony and evidence presented through the court has largely led us to that possibility. We have a duty to pursue the line of reasoning to its conclusion. But with no possible means of knowing the contents of the document, there's no line of reasoning to pursue. A reason why Lord Klint Van Zieks, a man of high noble standing, would have chosen death. Information so secret, people in the judiciary would be willing to negotiate the jailbreak of a condemned killer. The only explanation that fits those facts is an unthinkable truth that turns absolutely everything on its head. But it's just too hideous.
Mr. Naruto, however difficult the situation might become, you work with your client in pursuit of the truth. That's what you resolved to do when you entered the courtroom this morning, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Sato. So hold your head high and keep soldiering on.
Yes, you're right. 10 years ago, in his final moments, Lord Klint Van Zieks left behind a will. A will that Genshin Asogi was able to use as a weapon to negotiate his escape from prison. In all possibility, the details of the will were related to the professor case. The defense's last statement is mere conjecture. What are you getting at, man? Rinosuke? As soon as these words came out of my mouth, there's no going back. I believe the last will and testament of Lord Klint Van Zieks was in fact I think it would be a report. Because I kind of want to be confessing because that's one of my lines of thought, that it was Klint, the professor, the entire time. An accusation, I feel like that doesn't intrinsically have evidence to back up a line of reasoning or like a real solid case. But a report would contain all the evidence. But he's writing it with his hand though. He actually penned it, and it just ink got stuck on his hand. I'll go report. It seems to me that was probably some kind of report. Some kind of. Well, remember that Lord Klint Van Zieks was a well-bred and fastidious man. Knowing the end was near, he probably wanted to tie up all the loose ends. Oh, okay, never mind. Didn't think that's what the line of the breathing would go. Knowing the end was near, he probably wanted to tie up the loose ends of all his outstanding businesses. My brother had no outstanding business. Huh? Klint would have a full account written the instant there was even a hint of something to report. He must have worn out a lot of pens. In any case, a business report would never be penned in Scarlet ink, Counsel. I better consider the ink color. It's apparent that the defense's explanation has no real substance. This line of inquiry is dead. Kamari Nosuke, I know you. You've seen to the heart of all this, haven't you? Oh. Are there Katsuri just now? What the hell? Okay. Let's go with accusation. Obviously, it must have been an accusation. An accusation? Yes. Revealing the true identity of the professor. Which will explain why Asogi took it, since it was he who was implicated by the doctor.
Objection!
No. In that case, the will wouldn't have given Mr. Asogi any bargaining power at all. And you're suggesting the accusation was against some other person.
Objection!
No. If that were the case, two men would surely have collaborated to pursue the culprit together. Then your whole argument falls down. Can I object to the penalty too? Aha, I was right. I mean, sure, I had like 8 guesses throughout this case. But I'll still take the win. It was a confession.
You can do this, Mr. Naruto.
I believe that what Lord Klint Van Zieks actually penned that day was a confession. A confession? Regarding the mass murderer known as the Professor. And his true identity.
Objection!
Enough, Counsel. What are you saying? Do you even realize? A confession about the true identity of the Professor. That would mean... Lord Van Zieks, I appreciate this... Okay, I didn't think that word would ever be used in this context, but okay. Lord Van Zieks, I appreciate this must be hard to take in. But it's the only explanation that fits. The killer that terrorized London a decade ago, and became known as the Professor. The man believed to have murdered 5 members of the aristocracy. Wasn't Gejin Asogi at all. No, you can't be suggesting. It was in fact the man believed to be the 5th victim. It was in fact the man believed to have been the fifth victim. Lord Klint Van Zieks himself. It's fully open, is it? Pandora's box.
The great Lord, the great Van Ziek's family. They've been thoroughbred needed.
And Lord Klint Van Zieks, he was the purveyor of justice capital.
But he was actually a mass murderer. Perpetrator of atrocities of the violence nature.
If Jonas Pong found out, law and order, country be ruined.
My brother.
Oh, this is too awful. Poor Lord Van Zieks.
I wonder though. Did he never suspect?
Listen now, Hudo.
Lord Barak Van Ziek is a brilliant prosecutor. Is it conceivable that he didn't realize what his older brother really was? Order! Order! Order in the court! Lord Van Zieks. The professor made use of an enormous hound as his murder weapon. Tell me, did your brother own a dog? Yes, he did. Belmont. He was a well-known hunting dog. People called him a giant. I don't believe this. When my brother would go hunting in the forest of the grounds behind the house, he always took Belmont. After Klint's death, the creature passed away too. Almost as if he were following his master. Oh! That's the collar! That's the collar with the letter B on it. Wow. He was a magnificent hunting dog, worthy of the jewel-studded collar around his neck. A jewel-studded collar? That's right, though sadly, some years ago now, it was stolen by the thief who broke into the house one night. A jewel-studded collar stolen by a thief? It so happens that myself and my colleagues have come across such a collar during our time in London. How could you?
There was an old emblem attached to the collar too, made of pure gold. It was topped with a small crown and bore an ornate capital letter B.
What? An emblem bearing the initial B.
Oh my, you know it?
Is the insignia of the Baskerville family. Oh. What? The Baskerville? Why that name coming up now? Baskerville is the family name of my late brother's widow. That pure gold emblem was an heirloom, which Klint acquired upon their marriage. There can be no doubt then. The color you've described was Belmont's.
The family insignia of Lord Klint Van Ziek's widow.
There was a considerable amount of blood on the collar when we saw it. Since we know the dog was used for hunting, it could have been from his quarry, of course. But it could equally have been from human prey.
So it's true then.
Klint Van Zieks, really was the professor.
Impossible! Those Japanese are making a ball! On our own!
So, in fact, the person responsible for these murders of nobles and royalty was the noble himself. And that threatened to be an enormous scandal that would I can't remember how the word's pronounced. Irrevocably destabilize British society. My father knew that, and was using it to negotiate his way out of the unjust charges brought against him. But at the very last hour, those he bargained with betrayed him, slaying him mercilessly on foreign soil.
Well, can you deny it, Laura Strongheart?
Years have passed. And still now, the 6 million inhabitants of our great capital rest easy, believing that justice was done. That though his anonymity remains, the diabolical murderer was caught and executed. Very well then. You may have the truth. Well, I'm surprised. Tell me then. Tell me what Klint really was. Lord Klint Van Zieks was too pure of heart. When he became a prosecutor and went in pursuit of the black roots of crime, he drove himself into a corner. He came to the uncomfortable realization that to fight the most fiendish of criminals requires one to become even more fiendish oneself. Klint. The 19th century was a truly miraculous 100 years for Great Britain, and indeed the whole world. New industry, new technology, and with the birth of the metropolitan police services, new law and order. But these dazzling new developments meant even deeper shadows were cast on society. Water sullied by factories, air thick with noxious fumes and crime, growing daily to fill the darkness. Lord Klint Van Zieks made it his mission to combat that darkness, but as time went on, it slowly ate at his soul, until eventually he was consumed. It's ironic, really, and somewhat surprising, that the truth has once again been unearthed by Japanese. Once again? What do you mean? 10 years ago, your father, Genshin Sogi, turned up at my office one night. The professor? Yes, beyond a shadow of doubt. We must issue a warrant to search his home at once. Don't be absurd. The man comes from one of our country's most illustrious families. He's a paragon of justice here in the capital. Yes, that's the point. That's why none of you British can see it. He's using his noble status as a diversion whilst he commits these atrocious crimes behind the scenes. Do you have evidence? Nothing definitive as yet. But he keeps an enormous savage hound on the estate. We need the full support of the judiciary for this. We're up against a member of the aristocracy. So a large family estate has a fierce guard dog. You should know that's commonplace here in Britain. I'm sorry, but I can't possibly put Scotland Yard into this base on the tenuous accusation of a visiting student. So I turned down Sogi's plea, and as a result, he took it upon himself to visit the Van Zieks mansion on his own. You can only imagine now what happened between the two men. Though we know the outcome, of course, Lord Klint Van Zieks perished. I don't believe this.
So, in actual fact, Kazuma-sama's father did... He made the late Lord Van Zieks meet the same fate. He put a permanent end to the professor killings by taking the drastic measure of ending the perpetrator's life.
As soon as I hurried to the mansion. When I arrived, it was easy to grasp what had happened. And what about the will? So we must have already taken it. Nothing of that nature was found at the scene. We had no idea of the existence of such a document at the time. "100% corruption, baby." I was the only person who knew the true identity of the professor. Because it was under my orders. So, I resolved to keep it a secret, and to guard the secret to the bitter end. So, you're admitting to it? That you were behind it all? It was you, then, who pinned the crimes on my father. I did what needed to be done in order to protect the law and order of the British Empire. Even if that meant employing an unforgivable ruse. Then it was you who arranged this fabricated evidence. I ordered that detective to take care of it, whilst keeping the truth from him, naturally. Gregson. Obviously, he opposed me at first.
Are you off your rocker? We can't do something like that.
There's no question that it was Asogi who murdered Lord Van Cease. The house staff have made statements that they saw the man running from the mansion that night.
Yes, well, I've no doubt it was that Japanese fella. But we haven't got a shred of conclusive evidence against the man. And worse than that, he doesn't keep a dog. So we're sure a murder weapon to boot.
And we're short on time, Gregson. We must put a stop to this man's rampage, for the good of the country. So we use whatever means necessary. You want to make yourself clear, detective?
Blimey.
So that night, 10 years ago, when I was attacked by those thugs in the back streets, and Genshin's ring was taken, that was him, was it? That was Gregson and some hired help. Then the detective handed the stolen ring to Dr. Wilson, who framed its discovery from the victim's stomach during the autopsy. And in light of that decisive evidence, Mr. Asogi was found guilty of the charges brought against him. However, behind the scenes, he had actually already struck a deal with his accusers, in which he agreed to silently accept the charges. But I just don't believe that much. As far as I knew the man, my father despised such underhand dealings. It was extremely easy to make him comply. You see, he had one crippling weakness. What weakness? Isn't it obvious? You, Cosmo Asogi. Me? Perhaps you have no desire to return to your homeland, Asogi. What? Though I hear you have a 14-year-old son, agree to cooperate and accept your guilt without contention, and you will see Japan and your son again. You scoundrel! Whether you choose wisely or not, it will be a closed trial by order of Her Majesty. So whatever rash claims you might make in court, we will have no trouble stifling them. There's only one outcome for you, Asogi. The gallows. Don't forget that I still have a weapon at my disposal. A document revealing a truth that I know you're desperate to keep hidden. Yes, it hadn't escaped my mind, which is the only reason I'm willing to bargain with you. only want to protect this country's law and order. You understand? So, what's it to be, Asobi? Kazuma. He did it for me. And as I told him at the time, my motive was simply to protect Britain from the damage the truth would do. To protect this country's law and order. At any cost. Are we gonna be gunned down?
Objection!
I've never dared to let my... I never dared let myself even consider this possibility until now. But in the light of all of this treachery, I have to ask. The mastermind behind the Reaper of the Belly. Was it you, Lord Mail Strongheart? A rather brilliant idea, would you say, Lord Barak Van Zees? That the spirit of your late brother, that paragon of justice, should return to reap justice for his sibling. Could there be a more appeasing tale for London's masses, I asked you?
What prison?
I knew that you'd play the part to perfection. But your role really wasn't that of some embodiment of death. No, you were London's guardian angel. An angel with bloody hands? I think not. Those who had cooperated with me already were only too happy to participate in my plan. Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson. My minions worked tirelessly to ensure that the finger of guilt could never come to rest on you. It's all thanks to them that you were exalted as the demigod the Reaper became. But Dr. Wilson left Britain 4 years ago when he was invited to work in Japan. That's right. So I had to employ the services of his young protege after that. Dr. Courtney Scythe. Dr. Scythe. So what with the execution of the professor, and the subsequent reign of the Reaper of Bailey, I've successfully safeguarded law and order in our mighty capital for the past decade. That is everything. My lords, ladies, and gentlemen, I do hereby confess that it was I who sired the concept of the Reaper. However, let me say in my defense, it was all for the preservation of law and order across the entire empire.
Lord Strongheart did it?
An unforgivable collection of crimes.
But still, all who died in the Reaper's hand were run to point anyway.
If it was on the aid of King London's safe. There is no one left now who can reveal the precise truth of what happened 10 years ago. Therefore, this trial can go no further. Now, I would like to entreat all those present. Beyond these four walls, nobody need know the truth. Even Her Majesty must be protected from this. I trust you all appreciate the importance of my request. It is, of course, for the good of the country.
Can he do this? Can the trial really end now?
Hold it!
I have one last question. For the accused, Lord Van Zees. What? Of course, I know that you're a highly accomplished prosecutor, so I find it hard to believe that you didn't have any doubt at all. That you never suspected your older brother.
Yes, the same thought occurred to me.
It was only once, but yes, I couldn't say I never had my doubts. My brother's sense of justice was extremely strong. Perhaps too strong, I observed. At that time, there were members of the aristocracy who were bleeding the country dry for their own gain. And since they were nobles, they were untouchable. For my brother, it was a source of great turmoil. And coincidentally, at the same time, the professor began his terrifying reign. During the time of the professor killings, my brother did not appear to be himself.
And that made you suspect?
Yes. But it was only once. No, not more.
Only once? Really?
Klint wasn't the culprit. That was my conclusion at the time, and I still believe that now. Do you have any evidence to support the idea? The third victim was the Lord Chief Justice at the time. It was he who had recognized my brother's potential and trained him as a prosecutor. No matter what the circumstances, it's unthinkable that my brother could have killed his friend and mentor. That will do. Neither Klint Van Zees nor Genshin Sogi still walk this earth. However much we debate this matter now, we cannot hope to reach a conclusion. But there are only two excellent pieces of evidence from the time. The woe bygone ring that acted as the incriminating evidence to condemn Genshin Sogi, and the 3-page last will and testament penned in black ink and left behind by the man.
Wait, 3 pages, what? Was only 2?
The wretched truth of what happened is exactly as I have explained. Later today, I will present myself at the Ministry of Justice for whatever sanctions is deemed appropriate. That is all. Court is adjourned.
Objection!
Thank you, Kazuma. Me? If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have made this 11th hour discovery. What discovery? My lord, I'm afraid I must insist the trial continues. I beg your pardon. As the court has been reminded today already, we must stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth. And to that end, one particular statement made by somebody in this courtroom moments ago revealed a very subtle contradiction. What contradiction? But all I did was ask the accused one simple question.
Well, it began with Lord Van Zees and his recollection about his brother. But Lord Strongheart didn't permit the defendant to speak at length.
I merely pointed out that we can draw no further useful conclusion here. So what on earth is the contradiction? One of them definitely just said something contradictory. It's time to identify who. Lord Strongheart? It was Lord Strongheart, I'm sure of it. Something he said was slightly off. Inosuke, think back over his words, find the problem. Neither Klint Van Zees nor Genshin Sogi still walk this earth. However much we debate this matter now, we cannot hope to reach a conclusion. There are only two excellent pieces of evidence from that time. The woe bygone ring that acted as the incriminating evidence to condemn Genshin Sogi, and the 3-page last will and testament penned black ink and left behind by the man. Lord Strongheart, would you care to explain? Explain what, Counsel? Among the statements you made just a few moments ago, something you said was inconsistent with a certain piece of evidence we have. Inconsistent. And whilst an inconsistency remains, the defense has a right to pursue an explanation. Grunosuke, what? Let me warn you about the statements you are making, Counsel. They may very well prove fatal. You claim my words contain a contradiction. With which piece of evidence, I ask you?
Take that!
This here is the will left behind by Mr. Asogi. The 2-page will. What? Yet moments ago, your precise words were the 3-page last will and testament. Ugh. Could it be that originally there was a 3rd page? For a moment, I thought perhaps you identified something worthwhile. But it's a mere trifle, I see. A trifle. Governor Caden.
What can I do for you, sir?
You were present when the Japanese man penned his last will and testament.
Hey, I was there for sure. I remember the black worm, black straws to this day. And I'm quite certain, my lord, that there was a 3rd page at the time.
What?
Only the first 2 pages were the actual will, though. If I mind correctly, the 3rd was a message to his lad back in Japan.
For legal purposes, we required only his will.
And we wouldn't have wanted any uncomfortable words about Britain to get back to Japan, So it was decided that the 3rd page ought not be sent.
Objection!
How dare you make that decision? I have a right to know why it was said. To hear my father's final words to me. The courtroom is no place for sentimentality, Counsel.
As it happens, I have the 3rd page of the document with me here now.
My father's message. It will be given to you at the end of these proceedings. It'll be too late once the trial is over. We need to know what it says now. Even the slightest thing may give us a vital clue. My lord, the defense calls for Genshin Asogi's last words to his son to be read out loud before the court now. Your request is denied. The inevitably molten words. The inevitably molten words can be of no consequence now.
Objection!
The prosecution agrees. The court should know the content of that message. Every possible piece of evidence must be thoroughly examined. Very well, then. Governor Caden. You will read the 3rd page of the document for all to present.
Yes, sir. Only I should point out, my lord, that I cannot actually read the worm language.
This beautiful handwriting? Shame on you, Barry. If I could be of assistance here, I would be happy to translate the words into English for the court. Father!
You're still here, are you, Dr. Mikutoba?
Naturally. I consider myself a member of the justiciary, albeit a lowly one. But perhaps I should quietly withdraw after I've translated Genshin's message.
Your cooperation is much appreciated.
truth is shrouded in darkness, a darkness only our clan's great sword can pierce. Mighty Kuruma, twist thy head and watch them fall, all thy mortal foes. That's the end of the message. Ibusin. A haiku poem? Twist thy head.
Father. What is Kuruma? The name of the Asogi clan's famous sword. A razor sharp sword blade known to all, passed down for generations. It embodies the Japanese spirit. It is not known to me. It's the katana sword that was submitted as evidence earlier in these proceedings. The one worn by the prosecution counsel when he confronted Inspector Grayson. The details of the Asogi papers have been updated for record. All these procrastinations are beginning to try my patience. Adjournment of this court is long overdue. As a presiding judge, I have been as accommodating as possible of the will of the courtroom. However, despite all of that, no new information has come to light. Okay? Present it now? Or... Wow, that's like the last page, huh? Twist thy head. The head! My Kuruma, twist thy head and watch them fall, all thy mortal foes. That's the proper way to use the sword, is it? Maybe I should try it. It hurts my neck. That's the trouble.
Mr. Naruto, if I might make a suggestion, I think perhaps it doesn't mean your head. Oh, I once studied the history and development of the katana some time ago, and as I'm sure you're probably aware, the sword's head is the part at the very end of the hilt.
I knew it!
It's written as head in Japanese, but it's pronounced as Kashira, I believe.
Kashira? So Mr. Asogi's words really mean twist the butt of the hilt. You don't think...
Ah! Look what's inside! Is that a tightly wound sheet of parchment?
Scarlet ink! It's written in scarlet ink! I penned this, my last will and testament, in the final moments before my inevitable and willing death. This is it, isn't it?
Mr. Naruto, look at the signature at the end.
Klint Van Zieks. And the date, 10 years ago, on that fateful night.
So, for 10 years, it's been certainly concealed inside Kuruma, and nobody knew. The last will and testament of Lord Klint Van Zieks.
Wait. Oh my goodness. Look at this. This is unbelievable. Klint Van Zieks' will has been entered into record. I can't examine it. However, despite all that, no new information has come to light. In pursuit of justice, Lord Klint Van Zieks tragically lost all sense of morality. So when he murdered his former mentor, clearly he was already devoid of his normal faculties.
Objection!
How dare you! I refuse to believe that of my blood. Too much time has passed. We cannot ever hope to know more than we do now. Especially since the alleged will that he penned in his final moments appears to have been lost forever.
Lord Strongheart, you appear to be in something of a hurry to wrap things up. I wonder why. We've heard you state time and time again during these proceedings that everything you did was in the interest of the protecting British law and order.
And I stand by that. Without the Reaper, we could never have achieved a reduction in crime the capital has seen.
Objection!
What about Inspector Gregson and Dr. Wilson? There were no criminals. You used them to achieve your ends. Then you had them killed. However you dress it up, there's nothing fair or just about that.
Lord Strongheart, what exactly is it that you're hiding?
Dr. Mikotoba, were you not to quietly withdraw after the translation of your former associate's will? In this courtroom, no argument carries weight unless it is supported by evidence. And it would seem that the defense has no more evidence to present. In which case, I hereby order all discourse from these proceedings to be struck from the record. This is my last chance.
Mr. Nahoda,
I have to present some decisive evidence now, or it's all over. Can I? Present evidence. Wait, my lord. As it happens, the defense does have evidence to present. What? Don't be absurd! There is nothing of relevance remaining from that time.
Objection!
It's high time that you realize something, my lord. This gentleman has an uncanny habit of producing evidence at the final hour that had escaped everyone else's attention. Nonsense! What is it, Renosuke? What do you have, boy? I dare say, the final, decisive piece of evidence that will reveal the whole truth about this rotten tale. Ha! How can you? Decisive!
well, it would appear there's no escaping it now, my lord.
Let it be so then. Present wherever you think you have that can settle this decade-old enigma, if you're capable. What exactly is this evidence that the defense claims to have been so decisive?
Take that!
There's a single piece of evidence that can clarify what really happened 10 years ago.
The last will and testament of Lord Klint Van Zieks.
Ha! A wonderfully astute observation, I'm sure. But in case it had escaped your notice, that document was lost long ago. That's right, it was. Only, I have it right here, discovered just moments ago. Impossible! That can't be! Everything that happens comes back to this will. This document is the key that will unlock the entire mystery. My brother's last will and testament. Where did you find that? It was rolled up inside this. Inside Kuruma? The ultimate weapon Geshin Asogi obtained was laying undisturbed in the hilt of the sword all these years. Just waiting for the right time to emerge and reveal the truth.
The signature and seal certainly look official.
My god, it's true. It's my brother's handwriting. There can be no mistake. I forbid the contents of that document from being read out. Do you hear me? I strictly forbid it.
Objection!
You can't do that, my lord. This document could explain everything. That document could literally destroy the meaning of justice in this country. I demand that you hand it to me, at once. Why? What are you trying to hide? Could it be that you already know what's written on this page? What are you implying? Court adjourned with immediate effect. Clear the courtroom.
Objection!
Do that, my lord, and you'll suffer the fatal blow as Lord Chief Justice. I beg your pardon? Forcibly ending a trial without a good reason. And not any trial, a closed trial by order of Her Majesty the Queen. To defy the monarch's will is treason.
Look, Chief Antiques, we did pin the will today. Exactly what the young Janina said. Read it out! Ow! We got a right to know, hear what's in the will. A right and a duty. Well, my lord. It would rather appear as though proceedings aren't going to go quite as told.
You fools! Go ahead, Renosuke. Read it. Prosecution gives its full support. Very well then. No, for God's sakes. No! I pen this, my last will and testament, in the final moments before my inevitable and willing death. The hour is 11 p.m., and I sit at my writing desk in my office. My good friend, Asogi, stands at my shoulder. He has expressed his intent to invoke the dying ritual of the duel, that I may depart this world with honor, an honor of which I am utterly undeserving. The Japanese are a truly merciful people. I, Klint Van Zieks, Lord of the Manor of the Van Zieks estate, hereby confess to the following. I am the killer who has come to be known in society as the Professor, guilty of 4 counts of murder. I will not here discourse the corruption rife among the aristocracy, which is to me, as one of them, so apparent. However, 6 months ago, I took the life of a member of the House of Lords at the heart of the depravity, a demon who habitually sacrificed the common man to further his own interests, abusing his position for a power. The law is impotent against such vile avarice. Only a fellow demon can rid society of this menace. That demon was my quarry, upon whom I willingly set my great hound. But though I am a hunter of some expertise, I am a poor felon it seems. My guilt was at once recognized by another, and I became a subject to his extortion. He held over me the threat of exposing my wicked crime to my beloved wife and brother. Under that threat, I have done this man's bidding for months now, killing those he demanded I kill. As I watched my former mentor perish before my eyes at the jaws of the hound I commanded, I realized that I had lost the last shred of decency within me, and sunk to the levels of a wild beast. There is no path back to light, be it I, or my dear friend Asogi, who dies this night. I am eternally damned. To my extortioner, Male Strongheart, And may you feel the jaws of the beast at your throat every time you swallow. I was right! I mean, I didn't get the part where he just blackmailed him, but... So now we know. Yes, Klint Van Zieks was a murderer. But somebody was directing him and naming his victims. His extortioner, Lord Mael Strongheart. It was you!
Lord Strongheart, a moment ago, you claimed that what the court has just heard could destroy the justice in this country. But you weren't trying to protect justice at all. All you were trying to do was conceal the secret of your true nature, and the countless lives you sacrificed up till now.
It just didn't make sense to me. That the third victim, the former Lord Chief Justice, was my brother's benefactor, and a man of lofty principles. As I said, Klint had no possible reason to kill the man. But you did, didn't you, Lord Strongheart? To eliminate the man who stood between you and the office you'd set your sights on. So you used your own hunting dog, Lord Klint Van Zieks, to take him down. It had to be done. London's unsavory shadows are deep, and the arm of the law fails to reach their depth. Crime must be cut off at the roots. But the Lord Chief Justice at the time couldn't see that. He was weak. Lofty principles, you say? Tantamount to cowardice, if you ask me. Which is why I took his place. In order to fight the crime he was allowing to spread like wildfire. By murdering the man. The Reaper. Professor. The name makes no difference. As I've explained countless times already, it was all done for the furtherance of law and order in London.
Objection!
Are you going to legitimize the murder of my father now, too? Ah, Genshin Sogi. Well, that was unfortunate. I had fully intended to send him back to Japan, as we agreed. I don't believe you. It was you, wasn't it? You killed him. No, it wasn't me who took your father's life. Then who? On the night that following his mock execution, I went to Logate Cemetery at 3 in the morning with Jigoku. Judge Jigoku? There had to be a collaborator on the Japanese side to manage Asogi's treatment after his reparation. Jigoku had fierce ambition. It made him easy to manipulate. 10 years ago, after he stood trial for the destruction of the witness stand, I had words with him. When I told him the position of Minister of Foreign Affairs could be his, he couldn't agree fast enough.
Seshiro, you fool.
As you know, Asogi escaped the prison in a closed casket, and was subsequently interred. We intended to dig him out of his grave before he ran out of air. But sadly, all did not go to plan.
Ag!
There was an unexpected visitor to the cemetery with his own ideas about digging up graves. A man who witnessed what nobody was supposed to see. Enoch Drebber. Of course, I knew grave robbers frequented London's cemeteries. But that grave on that particular night... Blast. If people find out the convict wasn't really executed, a scandal will rock the very foundations of the Empire. Then what will we do? Shoot him! Mr. Jigoku, shoot Asogi at once! He can't live now that this has happened. He has to go. What are you talking about? We had an agreement! You promised him he could return to Japan! Everything has changed now. If the truth got out because of this, both of us would be finished. Forever. Come on, Jigoku, do it! Pull the trigger! Shoot! Jigoku shot Asogi from the shadows. The grave robber was so close, the blood sprayed over his coat. He fled as fast as his legs would carry him. And then Jigoku and I put Asogi's body back in the grave, from which he just emerged. When I later learned of the waxwork modeler's presence at the scene as well, I made her swear to two things. Never to remove the professor's mask, and never to speak of the events of that night. And with that, the secret was buried along with Asogi's corpse. So, now you know what really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night. It was Jigoku, your Japanese acquaintance, who killed Asogi in the end, you see. He claimed to be the man's friend, but when push came to shove, he pulled the trigger. Just before Mr. Jigoku left the courtroom earlier, he said that the assassin exchange proposal was the man from his British counterpart, not a request. So you coerced him too, using what happened in the graveyard. By that time, Jigoku was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, negotiating international treaties with Britain. You can imagine what would happen if it came to light he'd murdered a compatriot 10 years earlier. He would have lost everything. I merely reminded him of that. How do you sleep at night? These past 10 years, I fought tirelessly with the darker recesses of London's criminal underworld. I've used whatever means necessary to ensure that justice prevails and law and order reign supreme.
Objection!
That couldn't be further from the truth. The fact is, you haven't fought crime at all. How dare you? I saved Clint Van Zeeks from dishonor in his death.
Objection!
Whilst behind the scenes, you systematically buried anyone who stood in your way. And then, you made my father take the blame. It was unavoidable. It was the only way to protect our justice system and public order. Let's not forget the others you had killed as well. saying the defendant as a Reaper to cover up the truth behind the murders of countless more. That's enough! Do you have any idea of the conniving that led to the acquittals of those wretched criminals? We have to fight fire with fire. Our courts can't function without. Can't you see all I've done for this country? This has been my struggle.
Objection!
You've done nothing. It's Lord Van Zeeks here who worked tirelessly and justly in court, whilst enduring the disgrace of the Reaper name. And Inspector Gregson, fraught with anguish from having sullied his hands through a desire to do the right thing. Not to mention Genshin Sogi, who risked his life going in pursuit of the truth you've tried to hide. No, the darker recesses of London's underworld were largely filled by you. You little... When will you get through your thick skulls? And that was all for the Queen and country? I'm tired of that excuse. You've constantly twisted the truth for bargaining power, to make others do your bidding. Nothing more. People willingly twist the truth. People who willingly twist the truth and coerce others have no right to call themselves part of the judiciary. I strongly suggest you don't ever talk of justice again. Well, well, well. Hear me, my good fellows, hear me! A well-deserved round of applause, I think, for quite a marvelous performance. What are you talking about? Those delightfully grave expressions? That beautifully pronounced Queen's English? Really, our friends from the Far East are quite the picture of industriousness. Fraud! Keep your mockery! Please, don't misunderstand. It really is exactly as you both said. What are you trying to say? I have occupied the darker recesses of London's underworld, and, how did you put it? Done nothing? I confess it's a little embarrassing to have it pointed out quite so starkly, but yes, I really have done nothing. Which means, I can be indicted for nothing. No. What? It's true. Personally, I have committed no crime. I've merely been surrounded by fools, who've acted very rashly indeed.
Objection!
You can't get away with that. You've constantly preyed on people's weaknesses. And what? Threatened them? Are you sure it wasn't just bargaining? I would like to address all the good lords, ladies and gentlemen of the judiciary here present. You all know of these darker recesses in our great capital, and deep down I believe you also know that to fight those who dwell there requires at least some of us to occupy the darkness ourselves. So let me appeal to your good sense now. Consider the situation with me. If this catalog of horrifying revelations were to become common knowledge among the 6 million inhabitants of London, what might happen? To learn that the infamous murderer of royals and nobles was a respected member of the aristocracy himself. That evidence was fabricated in the scapegoat's trial amid secret negotiations with prosecutors to effect a jailbreak. That the Reaper of the Bailey was an organized group of assassins managed by a Scotland Yard inspector. And finally, that was all masterminded by the Lord Chief Justice himself. If the general public of Britain knew the truth, all faith in the police and the prosecutor's office would be completely lost, without doubt. Public order in the capital would completely break down. We'd be cast back to the lawless days of the last century. Precisely. It was as it was 100 years ago, when 1 in 10 of the population were criminals. Think what we've accomplished since then. A public policing force, a comprehensive set of laws. And if we want to continue to protect this new era of law and order, I say again, we must at times occupy the darkness ourselves. We have successfully identified and apprehended the man responsible for taking Inspector Gregson's life. That is all that was expected of this trial. All these other matters that have been discussed will be eliminated from the minutes of these proceedings, in the interest of preserving law and order. And to protect Her Majesty the Queen, of course. Well, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, what say you?
He has a point. The things Lord Stronghead has done are quite unforgivable.
But on the other hand,
Isn't our duty to maintain law and order in the capital? You can't deny that the Reaper over the years has done wonders for the crime rate.
And by fair means or foul, that's all thanks to Lord Strongheart.
are you hearing this? This is the will of the British judiciary. For your rousing response, friends, I express my heartfelt gratitude. Therefore, in accordance with the overwhelming wishes of the court, the records shall be erased. You have to respect the man's ability to turn a situation to his favor. Lord Strongheart really is a master of manipulation.
You've conclusively proven his guilt. Yet he still manages to evade justice. I just don't know what we can do.
Renosuke. It looks like the trial really is going to come to an end now. I'm almost out of options, I think. There's really only one path left open to me. It's time to use the bunny! You know what? I'm actually gonna call it a night here, because I think it's just gonna be a little more, and then the epilogue, which probably might take like an hour. I just don't know how long the epilogue's gonna take. So, we'll see how long next stream will be then. Until then, thank you everyone who joined me today, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye. It's really kept